One of my favorite things to do is listen to the sound of the waves crashing through the rocks at Torrey Pines State Park. Sometimes the waves will break with so much force they'll throw the rocks around on the beach. This morning, the fog was thick. The mist was rising up from the ocean, up over the cliffs, and into the groves of Torrey Pines. With such little rainfall, this is the primary way that these critically endangered trees get their water for the year. For my first image, I came across this view. Lone Torrey Pine, with two others behind it enveloped in fog. I didn't quite have enough room to set up the tripod, so no video for this one, but I still think it perfectly set the tone for the rest of the hike. It's kind of a surreal feeling, knowing that this is one of the only places in the world the Torrey Pine grows in the wild. This view, I think, captures it perfectly. A lone tree, standing by itself, barely visible, totally enveloped in fog. There's just a sense of mystery that this view captures, and it's perfectly fitting for the Torrey Pine. It seemed like the further I hiked closer towards the edge of the cliff, the denser the fog got. Until I made it to the very edge, this was the only time I could even hear or see the waves hundreds of feet below. Now, I'm not exactly a huge fan of heights, so it was cool to stand here and admire the view for a bit, but I didn't stick around for very long. Plus, I had my morning coffee in my bag, and this was the perfect spot for a break. It's kind of funny. Even though the fog took away much of the normal view, I actually liked it more. I stood here and let my mind wander, looking at the waves, well, rather listening to them more than anything, and wondering who else was out there, enjoying the morning, hiking through the fog somewhere that I couldn't quite see. After finishing up my coffee, it was time to hit the trail. After all, morning conditions like this with such heavy fog don't come along very often, and I had to take advantage of these conditions. Not much further up the trail, I came across this scene. I thought these agaves looked really cool, standing alone in the fog. This is a scene that I normally would not be able to capture without these conditions. So I put on my 100 to 400 telephoto lens to compress the scene, and I shot with a wide aperture to add additional softness to the foreground and background beyond what the fog was already providing. This view is probably my favorite of the entire morning. I love the way these Torrey Pines are standing, seemingly towering out of nowhere, like giants in the mist. I felt a bit rushed at this point. The mist was rising up from the ocean to the right, kind of in waves and spurts, and I really wanted to capture this image before it faded. The way the scene looked in this moment was perfect. Not so much fog that I couldn't see the trees, but not so little that I could see the background. If you look to the bottom right of the video, you can actually see the mist rolling through. But thankfully, I had enough time to set the composition, focus in, and grab the photo. I also really wanted to grab a vertical composition of that image. In particular, I had a feeling that the trees furthest to the left would look good, even alone. So I rushed around a little bit more, dialed in the composition, refocused, and grabbed the image. I was surprised at just how long the fog continued to roll through. I started to get tired after hiking for so long, so I sat at this overlook and watched the waves of mist roll through the valley below. It was really funny hearing voices, but having no idea where people were. For a brief moment, the mist thinned out enough that I could actually see the cliffs. I was able to grab 2 quick images of this Torrey Pine, with the cliffs behind it visible. I left one in a full-width landscape view, and the other a smaller square crop, with just the 2 Torrey Pines visible. I really liked sitting in this spot, but it was time to move on. I wanted to head down closer to shore to see if there was anything worth seeing down along the coast. On the way down, I found this amazing view of 2 Torrey Pines. One on the right was shaped by the wind, twisting away from the coast, and the others behind were more shrouded in fog. And then, almost by design, a bare twisted branch was right in between the 2. I didn't see much else on the rest of my hike down towards the coast, though I did like this Torrey Pine standing next to a cactus and thought it looked kinda cool. I hope you liked this collection of black and white images. I feel like choosing black and white really helped bring the attention on the fog and the atmosphere of the morning. After all, with such heavy fog, the colors were mostly washed out anyway. I'm glad that I was able to take some time to come down here for this morning. It was quiet, peaceful, and a great way to spend a Sunday. Thanks as always for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again next time.